let's talk about Area 51, shall we? So I just thought it'd be fun to get like a conversation started with the whole Area 51 raid allegedly taking place only a few days away. I thought it'd be interesting. I just stepped on something to create a kind of video about how I would handle if I were a tactician in charge of organizing the raid, for example. How I, as a tactician, would handle the Area 51 raid. And then I kind of wanted to get theories going in the comments about how you guys would handle the raid yourselves. So, that's what this video is about. Just a fun video to put out there. Kind of just to capitalize on the fact that, you know, there's a big Area 51 woohoo going around. Maybe get some views from that, but you know, I'm shameless. The idea behind this video is just purely hypothetical. I hope it's purely hypothetical. I sincerely hope people don't go to Area 51 and get themselves killed. But hypothetical, if I was the tactician in charge of an Area 51 raid, how would I carry it out? So I'm taking some cues from Sun Tzu's Art of War, Grand Admiral Thrawn, what I've learned about tactics from these characters, these people, and how I would apply them to this raid. So the first thing I would have to do, so what we have to do is, first of all, we analyze the battlefield. We employ tactics, we analyze the enemy. To defeat an enemy, you must know them. So that's the first step. Come to an accurate knowledge of your opponent. So what do we know about Area 51? So, step one. Know your enemy. What kind of defenses does Area 51 have? How can we learn a bit more about Area 51? Well, you can literally Google map Area 51. Shockingly. And from a cursory look at Area 51 through Google Maps, you can determine that tactically, strategically, there's not a whole lot at Area 51. It is technically a military base, so you can suspect military personnel and suspect military armory. But there isn't a whole lot there in the way of defenses. Besides that, though, strategically speaking, it is placed in a very good spot. It's miles away from any kind of highways, roads, so they would see you coming miles before you ever got there. So the element of surprise is not something that we have to our advantage. Additionally, we're attacking them on their home front, which means they have the upper hand in that area as well. However, what flaws do they possess? They have announced that they're not taking the raid on Area 51 seriously. And you know, to be totally fair, why would they? I mean, despite the fact that 2 million people have said that they are going to Area 51, that's a gross overestimate of how many people are actually going to be there. In reality, I don't expect nearly that many people to actually raid Area 51, although apparently hotels in that region are booked. That being said, this indicates that they aren't really expecting a military force to come knocking on their door. That's a common military weakness, is that they suspect that they're impenetrable, not going to be touched, and so their defenses are down, with the exception of the fact that we kind of gave away the day that we're going to be making this raid, so their guard will at least partially be up on the day of the raid. So, now I've established the battlefield. We know our enemy. We know some of their weaknesses and their strengths. I would also expect that I'm not going to assume they have alien technology in Area 51, but I am going to assume that whatever technology they have is going to be far more superior to technology anyone on my side of this conflict would possess. So, this establishes strengths and weaknesses on both sides of the conflict. Does that mean that the underdog side is immediately going to be the losing side? So, the next step is to create a strategy that eliminates, or at least diminishes, your opponent's strengths while capitalizing on our own strengths, eliminating our own weaknesses, exploiting our enemy's weaknesses, and giving us an element of surprise or other edge that they will not possess. There are a few flaws that the Area 51 side of this conflict do possess. For example, they are a governmental military force. They will be in conflict with a civilian force. If they were to shoot on sight civilians, even civilians attacking a military base, the governmental backlash that they would receive would be extraordinary. That makes it unlikely that there will be a slaughtering of civilian forces. Meaning that, to an extent, they do have hesitation, and their hands are, in a way, tied.
Alright, so now we know a bit about our enemy, we know about our own selves. We've discussed the weaknesses that both sides of the conflict possess. Now I just need to build a strategy that allows me to capitalize on my strengths and to exploit Area 51's weaknesses. I see a foreseeable 3 strategies, each one increasingly less likely to be successful. Strategy number 1 hypothesizes that I'm in charge of the raiding forces at Area 51. If I were the tactician in charge of the raid at Area 51, I'm going to assume that I have nowhere near the amount of forces that are allegedly even going to be there. That the military might there has superior technology. The strategy I would employ to overtake Area 51 would be a multi-purpose strategy. I would close in at several points using decoy bodies in an attempt to make my forces feel more organized, more like there's more on my side than there actually is. I would employ decoy forces because, as we have already predicted, they will see us coming for miles. But if I have decoy forces, empty vehicles heading toward Area 51, or if people are on foot, just cutouts even would be convincing enough to give them an inaccurate count of my numbers. This would make them over-prepare in a sense, and allow me to use more surgical strikes once I get into Area 51. Their guard would constantly be divided among these forces that aren't actually attacking and the people that are actually there. Strategy number 2 suggests that I go alone while the Area 51 raid is going on. And I use the overall distraction of the raid to infiltrate more stealthily into Area 51. The guards are focused on this bombardment while I sneak in my own way and leave with a few smaller treasures. The final strategy would suggest that I have my own private forces not connected to the Area 51 raid. And I either raid at the same time as the Area 51 raid, or I would even go in advance or post the Area 51 raid. Post is less likely, because after the Area 51 raid commences, no doubt the security at Area 51 will be increased to a degree. Preparedness will be increased, and a raid like this may never be possible again. Going beforehand might take them off guard by some small chance, because they're expecting it on the specific date, and if we go ahead of time, we might take them by chance. However, I find that less likely. Either way, serious mistakes have already been made on the raiding force's part. We've given them the day that we plan on going, so they can be prepared for that. So it's simply a matter of just being prepared to make the best out of a pretty one-sided conflict. A tactical retreat after a small victory, using guerrilla warfare, hit and fade tactics, would be the only potential success I see working to my advantage. Letting the larger force attack while smaller strike forces go in and actually do damage or get away with valuables. Which is why a one-man job has some appeal, because while the Area 50 Raid 1 is going on, an individual might be able to get in past security that's distracted with an actual battle and get something good out of it. Of course, that's assuming there are advanced technologies in there in the first place, which I'm still skeptical on. But that is the steps and tactics I would take in this situation.